Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for the Operation Parent and Tess Rowland um, webinar. We are so thankful that you've taken a chunk out of your day and that you're planning to spend it with us. I'm going to talk to you about a couple of the ways that you're going to participate in the webinar today. So we are going to record this webinar, and you are going to receive that with this evening, a recording of the webinar. For those of you that are joining us live, you're also going to get the certificate of attendance within 24 hours, and that is going to come to you in a separate email. We also share a survey right at the close of this webinar, and we use every word of that webinar to guide our planning and thinking ahead about what you might like about your experience here with us today. So people, those of you that have been with us before have been so generous with your time and talents on that survey, and it really is helping us to develop the program as we go. And I'm so excited about having your feedback along the way. We here at Operation Parent are a nonprofit, and our mission is to love and support by providing real-world information, connection, and most importantly, a whole lot of hope. Today, the title of our webinar is Safe Roads Ahead: How to Discuss Impaired Driving with Children and Teens. I'm excited to let you know we're going to cover the full age span of your children, your teens, your young adults. So no matter what age of your children are, or the age that you work with in your school or community, you're going to have something to take away today. So our upcoming webinar is December 11th with Dr. Crystal Coyer and Jake White. I invite you to use our new quick pop-up registration here and get in the queue for that webinar. It's going to be a great one and a super strong finish to the year. So I hope that you will go ahead and register for that and be with us for both of these webinars right in a row. So it's my honor to tell you a little bit about Tess Rowland. We started following her journey a couple of years ago, right at the beginning of her tenure as MAD president. And we've been so impressed with her from the get-go and just have been really honored to watch her journey through the prevention field. She was injured in a drunk driving accident, severely injured, and went through many surgeries and fought her way back from that, and has been a pioneer. She's running through the prevention field to get in front of everybody and anyone that needs better information about traffic safety, drunk driving. She spends her days in schools speaking with students and out in the community speaking with folks in Harris County, Texas about being safer on the roads. And today she has put together an action-packed webinar for you to think about traffic safety for your children's, teens, young adults of all ages. It's a perfect time to dig into thinking about this, and she's given you so many nuggets to keep those conversations, many conversations, going. We are so proud of Tess. We're so grateful to know her and to have gotten to know her better in this process, and we're really excited for you to spend some time with her today.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I greatly appreciate it. And thank you all for joining us today and for the gift of your time. So my name is Tess Rowland. Like Michelle said, I unfortunately came into the traffic safety space by being impacted. I was working as a television news reporter. I was headed into work when I was hit head on by a wrong way drunk driver, and it changed the course of my life. But it put me in the driver's seat of change. And I was very fortunate to work with fantastic organizations like Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and to also collaborate with local law enforcement, which is the work that I do now. I'm the traffic safety liaison for the Harris County Sheriff's Office. So I am going out into the community doing traffic safety presentations and working to bridge the gap between law enforcement and the community to hopefully reduce fatalities. So again, thank you so much for your time, and I'll be going through different resources that you can use as a parent to engage with your child and have these conversations to prevent impaired driving, underage drinking, as well as drug use. So I also have recently authored a book, and that also jump-started my relationship with Operation Parent. So I realized through my travels as MADD National President how a certain age group is neglected when it comes to the conversations of impaired driving. But these little but mighty community members, our 9 to 11-year-olds, they are in the driver's seat of change. And so I've authored a book called Astro's Adventures Exploring Road Safety. And the book features my dog, Astro, who's my furry best friend. It talks about my crash and my recovery, and how Tess and Astro are actually on a mission to teach kids about road safety and how to advocate for their safety, what to look out for in an unsafe driver, and again, how to effectively speak up. So do stay until the end so we can give away the book to one lucky person who is watching today. So key takeaways from my presentation. I hope that we understand by the end of this webinar, I hope that y'all understand age-appropriate communication. So I hope to equip you guys with effective strategies to discuss the dangers as well as the consequences of impaired driving with children at different developmental stages, ranging all the way from elementary school to our teenagers and even our college students, because we're not done yet, even though they've made it all the way to college. Also identify key conversation points. So to help parents identify the essential topics to cover regarding impaired driving, impacts on mental health, safety, legal consequences, as well as peer pressure that are, again, tailored to your child's specific age group. I'm also going to be providing different educational resources throughout the presentation. I will reference them from different nonprofits alike that you can reference, again, throughout your series of conversations that you are going to be having with your child about these topics. So let's talk about impaired driving nationally. I think a common misconception as it relates to impaired driving is that it's a thing of the past, because there are so many solutions nowadays. We've come a long way. We now have cell phones. Nobody has to find a pay-by-phone situation. We have Uber, we have Lyft, we have taxis, we have public transportation. So yes, impaired driving should be a thing of the past, but unfortunately it's not. Just to put it in perspective, and these are statistics, but I want to always highlight that behind these statistics, these are real people's lives who are forever impacted due to one person's choice to drink and drive. So every day, about 37 people in the United States die in impaired driving crashes. So that's one person every 39 minutes. And Mothers Against Drunk Driving also released a new statistic that every 78 seconds, somebody is killed or injured by an impaired driver. And in 2022, over 13,000 Americans lost their lives to a drunk driver. And what I like to say about impaired driving is that it is 100% preventable through our choices. And again, you guys are raising the next generation of drivers. So I really hope that you take these conversations to heart. And I do believe that we can see a day where there are no more people that are impacted by this crime. So how does it directly impact our children? Statistically, 229 children aged 0 to 14 were killed in crashes where there was an alcohol impaired driver in 2020. So this was 21% of the traffic deaths for that age category. In 2021, 27% of young drivers aged 15 to 20 were involved in fatal crashes, and it's estimated that they had blood alcohol concentrations of 0.01 or greater, and 22% of those deaths, those teens had a blood alcohol concentration of 0.08 or greater. And then, of course, binge drinking does remain to be a threat to young teens. About 4,000 young people lose their lives due to excessive drinking. So again, I hope these conversations will work to prevent underage drinking, impaired driving, as well as drug use. So why is the legal drinking age 21? This is a common question that I encounter as I travel throughout Harris County and I work with students. Why can I vote? Why can I drive? Why can I join the military at age 18? But why do I have to be 21 years old to consume alcohol? I'm stealing this line from MAD, but they say it's biology, it's not maturity. So even though I say to teens, you may have had some tough experiences in life, you may be emotionally mature, biologically, you're just not there yet. So during those years of transition between childhood and adulthood, the brain grows and changes in many ways that are crucial to your transition to be an adult. And when teens do drink alcohol, it can interfere with that process of brain development in many ways that can actually impact them for the rest of their lives. So again, I like to say to teens, it's biology, not maturity. And I'm going to call upon Amanda because there's a video within this presentation. This is from Ask, Listen, Learn. This is a responsibility.org program. Something that we're having to talk about with teens now is, of course, cannabis use. Because a lot of states are beginning to legalize cannabis recreationally, or, if you're in Texas, it is not legalized recreationally here, but it is legalized medicinally. So it is something that you're going to have to address with your teens. So Amanda, if you'll play that video for me, please.
You've probably heard that marijuana isn't good for kids. But what does that actually mean?
To answer that question, let's take a closer look at the endocannabinoid system to see exactly what it does, what marijuana does to it, and what that does to you.
Spread throughout the brain, the endocannabinoid system is a biological system made up of chemical messengers called endocannabinoids, cellular receptors that communicate with endocannabinoids, and enzymes that break down endocannabinoids after they've delivered their messages.
As endocannabinoids communicate with receptors throughout your body, they create balance and help regulate many body and brain functions, such as helping with memory, coping with stress, pain, and anxiety, and keeping hunger, body temperature, motor coordination, and alertness in balance.
Now let's see what happens when marijuana is introduced into this balancing system. Made from a plant called cannabis, marijuana can be smoked, vaporized, or ingested through food or drink.
Marijuana contains a chemical called tetrahydrocannabinol, also known as THC. Since THC's chemical structure is similar to naturally occurring endocannabinoids, the body allows THC to attach to endocannabinoid receptors in the brain.
When THC enters the body, it overwhelms the endocannabinoid system, attaching to cannabinoid receptors and throwing the body and brain off balance, preventing endocannabinoids in your brain from doing their jobs. Endocannabinoids work like a well-conducted and highly synchronized orchestra, with each one playing at a particular time and place in harmony. When THC is introduced, the precise coordination is lost and thrown off. The endocannabinoids can no longer do their special job. This means your brain will have a harder time regulating all of those functions like memory, coping with stress and anxiety, and motor coordination. Plus, when using marijuana, some people may experience fear, anxiety, paranoia, or memory loss.
Laws allowing medical and recreational use of marijuana for adults are becoming more common in some states, though not in others. But as a young person with a still developing brain, marijuana can have a stronger, more harmful effect on you than adults.
In fact, research has shown that young people who chronically use marijuana, especially highly potent marijuana, increase their risk of cognitive and memory damage, serious mental illnesses like depression and psychosis, and addiction to alcohol or other drugs in adulthood.
Learning the facts can help you make healthy decisions. So say yes to a healthy lifestyle and no to underage marijuana use.
To learn more, visit asklistenlearn.org.
So I like to show that video just because it's another great resource from Ask, Listen, Learn from responsibility.org that I'll be referencing within the presentation as well. But again, this was a topic some years ago that was ignored, but we have to understand as we are raising our children, their perception of cannabis differs from ours because they were likely born at the time where it was already legalized. And cannabis is marketed nowadays as a healthier, greener alternative. So this is just something to be mindful of as a parent. So I like to show this video. Again, it is geared for that 9 to 13 age group for parents to utilize, and it's completely free. So how early is too early to start talking about impaired driving? And that's a great question. It's never too early because parents do have a significant influence in their child's decisions to experiment with alcohol or drugs. And another statistic from MAD that I like to reference is that kids who start drinking before the age of 14 are 7 times more likely to be involved in an alcohol-related crash. So it's actually better to talk with children before they are exposed to alcohol and other drugs. So it is best to start younger because even in middle school, junior high time, your students could be exposed to other types of friends who may be partaking in these activities, unfortunately, already. So it's best to get them as soon as possible. And just another statistic to show the increase of cannabis as well as vaping. 3,300 kids as young as 12 years old try cannabis each day, and that's according to SAMHSA. And something that I want to highlight for parents, because I understand a lot of times when I encounter parents, they say, is it too young? I don't want to potentially corrupt my child by talking about some of these substances and to try to get them curious. Not talking about alcohol and drugs also sends kids a message because kids don't always have all the facts when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. And if parents do not talk about the risks of underage drinking as well as substance use, kids might not see any harm in trying these substances. So having these conversations allows you as a parent to set clear rules about what you expect from your children when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. And hopefully it is a zero tolerance policy, especially when they start driving. So small conversations, they leave big impressions. So talking often builds a trusting relationship with your child. So children statistically, and this is according to SAMHSA, are more likely to avoid drinking when they have a strong, trusting relationship with their parents. So you want to get into the habit of talking with your child every day. It will make it a lot easier as you go on to have these serious conversations about things like alcohol, and it will make your child more comfortable coming to you for advice. So I need parents to understand also that this is going to be a series of conversations. So talking to your child at an early age is the first step towards keeping them away from using these harmful substances. But you also have to understand as they grow and change, the environment around them is going to grow and change as well. So as they enter junior high or high school, again, they may be exposed to other types of friend groups. They may encounter different types of peer pressures that may enable them to kind of go off that course. So again, this is going to be a series of conversations that continues and progresses as they grow and develop. You want to avoid having one big talk because sitting down and having one big talk with your teens can be intimidating for both you and your child. So try to use everyday opportunities to talk, whether it's in the car, getting dinner, or even maybe like while you're doing an activity together, watching TV. So again, having lots of little conversations takes the pressure off of having one big conversation and trying to get all the information out at once. And by having a series of conversations, your child will be less likely to tune you out. And please, please, please remember also that having a conversation, it goes both ways. So although giving your child your thoughts about alcohol and drugs is essential, it's also very important to hear their point of view as well. So you want to give your child the opportunity to ask you questions as well as listen to some of the concerns and what they have to say. So children who have parents who listen to their feelings and their concerns are much more likely to avoid underage drinking. And that's another statistic from SAMHSA as well. So answering the tough questions, remember, honesty is always key. That helps establish trust. You want to empower your child to make the right choice. Again, when you have a conversation, it should go both ways. You should not be talking at your child. They're much more likely to tune you out at that point. You want to give them the knowledge, the fact-based truths that are going to empower them to lead healthy lives and be their best selves. You want to be, again, a resource when it comes to knowing the fact-based truths of the consequences, as well as how these substances can be harmful to their overall growth. Again, be an ally. Help them work through peer pressure. Understand that it is there and it does increase as they progress through high school and even their college journey. You also want to be empathetic and lend that listening ear because they may be actually engaging in these behaviors to cope with another area of their life that they may be struggling with. And if they trust you, they're much more likely to divulge that information, and they could see you as a great resource to put them on a healthy path. So age-appropriate conversations. While we always want to be direct and honest with our kids, it's important to have conversations that they can understand and that are appropriate for their age. So I've divulged different series of information for different age groups. So starting off with elementary school, I'm going to be referencing Ask, Listen, Learn from responsibility.org. That is the video that we just saw. At this age, children may become curious as to what alcohol is and why you may be consuming it. The same can be said for cannabis, as it has become legalized in a lot of states, and it is used medicinally. So you want to take advantage of teachable moments. For example, if children see alcohol, drugs, or vaping devices mentioned in a movie or on a TV show or on a billboard in a store, explain that these substances can be potentially harmful. And remember to keep your tone calm and use words that they understand. And again, as I mentioned with alcohol, you want to discuss the differences between the medicinal and the illegal uses of things like cannabis. As I was traveling throughout the country with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, I met a lot of elementary age children that questioned how alcohol would be harmful to them, especially when they may have seen a family member use it and have, great results. And that's a key importance to point out to your kids too, that it can be prescribed to somebody, but just because, something is prescribed to someone with an issue, it may still be harmful to me. So that's another important point. And remember that children are always watching your actions. They are, their mind is like a sponge. That is very true. So be aware of your own behaviors and always set a good example. If you are a parent that is drinking at the dinner table, use that opportunity to say, I am having a glass of wine tonight, and that is why your dad is driving, or something along those lines. Take advantage of those teachable moments. So here is more from Ask, Listen, Learn. Again, this is another just great program. So they love to teach responsibility.org. They teach children about responsibility. So we want to also instill that certain privileges come with age, and that is limited that is not limited to drinking alcohol, but other things too. You know, adults are not only allowed to drink, but they can also drive cars and they can vote. So adults have increased responsibilities in addition to the privileges that come with age. They go to work, they pay taxes, getting them to understand that idea of responsibility and their role in making responsible decisions as they grow. So there's some great exercises on there to instill those ideas and just have a great conversation. You know, you could say to your child, what are your responsibilities? They may be including being a great student, getting enough sleep, being a good friend. Like I said, these responsibilities use your child's curiosity as a springboard for fact-based conversations about what alcohol is. And of course, it gives you the opportunity to establish yourself as a great resource of information for how you can supply that information, for how these substances can impact a developing brain and body. So for middle school, you know, be aware you're still wanting to use fact-based evidence how using alcohol and drugs can be harmful. I want to point out that MADD has a great Power of Youth program tailored for both middle school and high school. But you want to be aware that your teens may now, at this age, have friends or peers who drink alcohol or use other drugs. So they may be already actually exposed to these substances. So make sure that you're prepared to answer your teens' questions based on their firsthand experiences. This is part of where it becomes to be a good listener. You know, you always want to remain clear and be upfront with your expectations regarding underage drinking as well as drug use. It's a zero tolerance policy. And of course, remind them with the fact-based truths that their brain is still developing till their mid-20s, and why cannabis use as well as underage drinking could be harmful. You also want to work through peer pressure, hypothetical scenarios, and how to prepare refuse to use responses. And the Mothers Against Drunk Driving program does cover some examples. So it's great practice. And again, just another opportunity for you to connect with your teen in that way. And then also at middle school, they may be, you know, riding with different sets of parents. I do recommend as a parent for you to always introduce yourself and talk about the expectations within your household, establish that connection, but also let your teen know, you know, about the importance of never riding with an impaired driver as well, and that you are a great, you're available to be called should they find themselves in those situations. Uber also has a great teen feature now. So you can have a teen have access to your account. So if you were not available to pick up your teen, they could still get a ride. So just another great resource. So for the high school age, again, you want to always listen and be responsive to teens' concerns, which, you know, are often quite practical at that age for them. Again, by establishing empathy and that listening ear, you can encourage your teen to really share the potential unsafe scenarios that they may be exposed to at that age. Again, it's so important to continue to be a role model, especially because your teen is likely to start driving at this age. So this is where we can get into developing a contract, which I know you have as a handout. So do consider using a written or verbal agreement that outlines the family rules or about drinking consumption as well as, you know, drug use. Definitely agree on a code word. So if your child is in an unsafe situation, you could use that code word to identify what they need, if they need to be picked up, if they need an Uber called to them. But again, you know, try to understand their thoughts and their feelings about alcohol and other drugs by always listening, staying engaged. You'll encourage them to continue to talk with you about these issues. So again, teens need to know that they can always call upon you instead of riding with an impaired driver, which, we see so many crashes that occur due to that reason because teens are so afraid to reach out to their parents. And of course, for college, you've gotten your kids this far, but parents, you're not done yet. This is another resource from responsibility.org. They do talk about binge drinking, which is something that we see a lot on college campuses. So the first 6 weeks of a student's first year in college are a really vulnerable time for them, and it can be harmful for underage college drinking and alcohol-related consequences because of the student expectations and social pressures that come with the start of an academic year. So before sending your high school graduate off to college, be sure to sit them down, discuss your family beliefs, your attitudes, your expectations when it comes to alcohol as well as drug use. Discuss various family reasons why they should refuse to drink and how to say no. And, these might include that, it is, of course, illegal to drink underage. Substance use disorders may run in your family. You don't want to get in trouble. Maybe your student is on scholarship, and they could lose their scholarship with such an infraction. Do talk to them about situational awareness. That is key. When it comes to college settings, you want to remind your student to be aware of why people are drinking and the environment in which they're drinking. You always want to encourage them to practice the buddy system and to always watch their drinks, even if they're drinking a non-alcoholic drink. That's particularly important. Also talk about how attitude is everything, because drinking to cope with stress, to forget problems, or to try to feel comfortable in a situation that feels unsafe is just never a good idea, because when you're under the influence, risky decisions, unfortunately multiply. The decision to overconsume will most likely not be the only bad choice that you make. Always be engaged and stay in touch. So you want to schedule a time always to talk with your student. When you're talking to your student, be sure to look out for signs such as disengagement, apathy, or symptoms of anxiety and depression. You want to look for signs of lifestyle changes in your student. And be sure also, if you're dropping your student off at college, that you get the contact information potentially for their roommates and roommates' parents, the residential assistant as well. So you're able to really get the full scope of what's going on in your child's life. So why your child may start drinking alcohol? Well, the first one, stress. So what can you do as a parent? So you can encourage your child to participate in extracurricular activities as a healthier way to cope with stress. These activities, of course, may include sports, music, art, faith-based and community events, or even group counseling. Peer pressure is another one. From ages 11 to 18, young people are more likely to be influenced by friends, family members, and also media, and social media is a huge aspect for peer pressure. So what can you do as a parent? You can help empower your child and boost their confidence by teaching them realistic ways to say no to alcohol and other drugs, and practice those strategies together in a safe environment. And remind them that real friends wouldn't be pressuring them to use these substances. And of course, transitions are a very real thing. Perhaps changing schools, breaking up with a significant other, moving to college, moving to a new community. And this is the opportunity for you as a parent to explain to your child that life is full of ups and downs. But things do get easier. Sometimes it just takes time. So make sure that they know that alcohol and drugs are never the answer. They're temporary fix, and you can brainstorm better solutions together to address what your child is feeling. So how to tell if your child may start drinking alcohol. So mood changes, flare-ups of temper, defensiveness, school problems, perhaps they're cutting class, they have low grades, they've received disciplinary actions, they're starting to rebel against you and family rules. Perhaps they've met a new group of friends, an attitude where nothing matters, where they've not really given effort to their physical appearance or former interests. Maybe you find alcohol in your child's room, physical manifestations of alcohol or cannabis consumption, bloodshot eyes, lack of coordination, slurred speech, or even lapses of memory, as well as poor concentration. So finding help. One key thing with this is do not play the blame game. So it's really hard for most parents to believe or find out that their child might be caught up in underage drinking as well as drug use. But in getting help for your child, the first thing to do is try not to play the blame game. Don't blame yourself or blame your child. The important thing is, again, to show up, be there for them, and to help them find the best possible resources to address these issues and get them back on the track of success and being their best selves. So, talk with people it's best maybe to connect with, some of their friends so you get a better grasp on the issue, with school counselors, with some of their teachers, to see about, resources that you should investigate as a parent. You can contact a mental health professional, or SAMHSA actually has a great resource on their website where you can do a quick search to help you find details about different treatment programs for drug and alcohol use within your area. And again, being a positive role model is really key, but it also does help to take into account, for example, if you know that your child has had a history of social and emotional problems, perhaps if alcoholism runs within your family, it's good to have these resources in mind. But that's exactly why you're here, is we're starting these conversations so it doesn't escalate to this level. So again, be aware of the factors within your familial history, within your child's health that may increase that risk. Support your children, be their biggest cheerleader and give them the space to grow. But also, you as a parent have a lot of power in creating change in your school as well as your local community. So we'll also go over within the presentation how you can get the local community engaged on the issue and rally together other parents. So when it comes to parenting styles, research does show that teens do care about parents' thoughts and opinions, and a positive parenting style can empower kids to avoid underage drinking. So Mothers Against Drunk Driving worked with Dr. Teresi out of Penn State to develop the Mad Power of Youth program, the Mad Power of Parents program. So I've attached one of the booklets that has just been a great resource for parents regarding how they can improve their parenting styles to address the issue. The key takeaway from it is to have that positive balance, where you are somebody that your child can trust, that they know that they can come to you and voice some of their thoughts and ideas, some of their struggles, but to also not be too lax in that you condone these behaviors. You still need to be their parent and to be firm with them, and again, be that fact-based source and stand firm that there's a zero tolerance policy as it relates to underage drinking and drug use within your household. So how can parents get the conversation started? Some of the conversation goals, over 80% of children aged 10 to 18 say that their parents are actually a leading influence in their decision to drink. And that was also research from Dr. Teresi. So young people are more likely to listen to you when they know that you are on their side, but you still ultimately need to reinforce why you don't want your child to drink or use other drugs, because you want your child to be happy, to be healthy, to be safe, to lead their best lives. So seeing that example, how I used that positive balance where I was an advocate for my child in that scenario, pushing them to be their best selves, but I remain firm in my beliefs, and of course using fact-based information to hopefully encourage them to make the responsible choice. You want to be a valid source of information so your child can make informed decisions and with reliable information about the dangers of underage drinking and drug use. So even if you don't think that your child wants to drink or try other drugs, please understand also that peer pressure is a very powerful thing, and having a plan, like I said, having that plan in place, having the answers ready for how they can refuse to use can really help children make better choices. So this is from Samsung for the Talk They Hear You program. I know you guys have this handout. This is just an example of that family agreement form that I mentioned earlier within the presentation. So empowering your child to make the right choice, put them in the driver's seat. Also, you'll notice throughout both responsibility.org's Ask, Listen, Learn program, as well as Mothers Against Drunk Driving, they avoid scare tactics. So I know it is a common thing for sometimes communities or schools to air programs like Red Asphalt or to reenact a crash. That is highly debated within the prevention world because while it does resonate for some students to really see the impacts of, potentially what could happen if they make the choice to drink and drive, ultimately it could scare teens as well, or it could cause them to shut down because sometimes, teens think that they're invincible and that would never happen to them. So I would say my most powerful presentation that I have utilized in Harris County has been when I've connected with student athletes, and I've made the consequences as well as the health risks very real to students by gearing it towards college athletes, those who are aspiring to go to college and pursue athletics, talking about how underage drinking can cause them to have slower running times, lapses in memory, things of that nature. So it's been very positively received because I've showed them that the stakes are really high, and that goal that they've been working towards may not be attainable due to them making poor choices. So I've linked that presentation here for you if you'd like to use that with your child as well. So what can schools and communities do? So as a parent, like I said, you have a lot of power. You can speak to your city council or even your local news station about PSAs to prevent impaired driving, as well as drug use or underage drinking. So I've linked this this commercial as well. It's from Budweiser. Friends Are Waiting. It really shows the impacts of making the choice to drink and drive. Features a dog whose owner does not come home the next day due to them making the choice to drink and drive. So I do recommend, if you want to become a strong advocate, news stations are able to air such PSAs. So do start a conversation with them, or even speaking again with City Council about addressing this topic. So alternative transportation, again, a designated driver is the person who agrees not to drink alcohol and to safely drive others home after they've been drinking. So a lot of times, this is particularly very important to express to your teams, because sometimes the designated driver is the person that drinks the least. Your designated driver should be 100% sober. So again, if you are passionate and you know that this is an issue within your local community, I encourage you to connect with community partners. AAA in communities has done a fantastic job of doing free tow-to-go services during holidays. I'm in the Houston area. I know that they do that here. So it could be a great program for you to get jump-started in your community. Also, responsible beverage service programs. They're often given to restaurants who serve alcohol, and basically it's a training for bartenders at local restaurants to understand why they shouldn't serve to minors and to not serve intoxicated patrons. So again, if you're particularly passionate about this issue, you want to make a difference in your local community, ensure that you reach out to different restaurant owners and business owners so they are understanding why this is such a necessity within every community. And also, designated driver programs. This is something to speak to the city council about. Maybe different faith-based organizations I've seen around the country. They do this during pivotal holidays. So again, if you're feeling particularly fired up about this topic, I do encourage you to explore these avenues within your local community. More local ordinances. I've attached a community-based impaired driving prevention program example from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and they've labeled different city ordinances and different measures that you as a citizen can take to prevent impaired driving in your community. Some of those I've highlighted are, obviously closing bars down earlier to prevent impaired driving. Also limiting lighting or putting lighting in parking lots. For example, they found has helped to decrease underage drinking, because a lot of times when teens will sneak out and try to purchase alcohol or drugs, they can't obviously go home to use these substances. So sometimes they'll try to park in a parking lot that's not monitored and not well lit. And so that's something that you can get with your city council, or even make your local law enforcement aware of. I work for law enforcement, and so it's been great to connect with those who have been impacted by impaired driving and to do what's called high visibility enforcement. So in Harris County during holiday times, we do increased enforcement measures to prevent impaired driving incidents, but it is really powerful when we're able to connect with victims of this crime, as well as just community members to educate them about the dangers. So again, early intervention, if you got anything from this presentation, early intervention is key. So, and just reiterating, you as a parent have so much power. So I encourage you to talk to your principals, assistant principals, to encourage your school to host presentations on these topics to ensure that your child is learning this alongside their peers. So again, there's plenty of resources. I encourage you to contact your local law enforcement, your MAD chapter, Shattered Dreams representative. Sometimes the local hospitals, like I said, do Shattered Dreams. It's a mixed bag of opinions as it relates to doing mock crashes, but in some, more rural communities, they do find that very impactful. So if that's something you would like to see, perhaps your local hospital has an injury prevention representative who could help with this. Responsibility.org again has that Ask, Listen, Learn program that is completely virtual. It has resources for you as a parent as well as educators. So a lot of educators have incorporated their materials within the health program. So if you want to have your child learn about that in class, I do encourage you to reach out to their teachers as well. So this is just some of the work that I've been able to do within the community. So we also have drunk driving goggles that we do with a lot of the students that are learning to drive. We, show them and try to get them to walk the line or do other types of activities. These goggles simulate what it is like to be impaired. So students understand, how driving requires your full attention. It's something to be done with care. And when you bring alcohol and drugs in the mix, you're putting yourself and others at risk. So that's part of what I do every day here in Harris County. So more resources. So like I mentioned, responsibility.org, as well as the MAD Power of Youth programs. I linked those. They are research-based information on the dangers of underage drinking as well as drug use. Just Think Twice, is another website created by the DEA with more information about drugs and, just some of the consequences, the health and legal consequences. Again, the National Institute on Drug Abuse is a great resource. They have awesome educational videos as well as games for, children or teens to play, to learn about some of the, dangers of drug use. Above the Influence has a great resource as well for more resources on how they can stand up for themselves and say no to negative influences. Safe and Sober is another website where they have a great prevention focused videos and curriculum. Could be available to you in your school, or if you homeschool, you can still access it as well. And SAMHSA, I've also referenced throughout this presentation as well. Responsibility.org also has parent influencers. So if you're a parent on social media, I encourage you to follow them as well. They post great videos about how they have conversations with their children and how they practice responsibility within their everyday life. So I've linked their website with more information on that if you're looking for somebody inspirational to follow on social media as a parent. And also Operation Prevention addresses opioid usage, which we can't ignore. That also is very much increasing within our children, is of course, the use of opioids as well as fentanyl. MAD Power of Parents, like I said, is developed alongside MAD Power of Youth. It's the parents' perspective, fact-based research by Dr. Teresi, great resource for parents, as well as another responsibility.org alcohol parent resource for binge drinking, which is something that happens within colleges as well. And so now we'll be doing the book giveaway. Michelle is back on screen. Thank you.
So good. I wanted to thank you for all that insight and all the resources you gave us to continue digging in and preventing scary situations on the roads. So I want to remind everybody, this is the perfect time to put in your question if you haven't already gotten one in. Amanda, just letting you know, I left the question area at about 1:53. So any questions that came in after that, if you could pop them in the chat for us. So yes, we are super excited to give away Tessa's children's book. And we offer you the opportunity to do this quick pop-up registration. All you need to do is click on the orange button and click yes if you're interested in being entered to win one of the 3 children's handbooks that Tess has provided for us as giveaways, and another way to expand your prevention strategy or your thoughts as what you read to your children, and also just think about prevention at an earlier age, which we all have to do. And I remember when I first read your book, Tess, even the simple things like putting your seatbelt on and having some memories of with both of my girls, times when they were really little and they didn't want to have that seatbelt on. So starting with like the struggle of getting that seatbelt on and keeping teens safe and young children from the beginning all the way through raising them. So you want to tell us first why you chose to write a children's book, and what is your favorite part of the book?
Again, so, this was born out of personal experiences, just encountering so many young people as I traveled throughout the nation as MADD National President. I realized that a lot of children were right on par with us. I think a lot of times, like we think as parents or adults that they are not as engaged or aware, and we don't want to necessarily talk about impairment because it's that fear of potentially corrupting them. But like I said, they're right there with us, and so hopefully this book introduces it talks about impairment as well as seatbelt usage, racing. And I think it's really important for a child to be engaged and aware, even when they're not the ones driving, how to spot these unsafe behaviors, and again, how to effectively communicate to the driver that they're uncomfortable or what to do in those situations. So it's a great conversation starter, featured by, like I said, my dog Astro. So he's been the furry mascot and road safety champion, and hopefully a lot of kids will resonate with his ideas and be inspired to get in the driver's seat and be a safe driver when they become of age to drive. Absolutely.
He's definitely the cutest dog around, for sure. Astro is amazing. The other thing I remember about your book too is just thinking about just the comfort that our pets give us, and how young children can relate to Astro in the story, and the part of thinking about a really young child knowing that they might be uncomfortable getting in a car with an adult who's had too much to drink. And then, just having some of the conversations about trying to maneuver around that, getting to a safe adult in the crowd, some of those things that really struck me as a point of prevention, as early as you can get it going, and how fearful or scary that is for a very young kid to know that their driver is maybe not in a safe spot. And then how do you find your voice, your encouragement, your assistance, in that. That was sort of one of the things that stuck out to me. And one of my favorite parts of your book is giving really young ones a voice and some power in speaking up and feeling safe.
Absolutely. And, a lot of the, as I've been able to meet readers, as I've traveled, a lot of the kids, when they meet myself or Astro, they're just inspired that it is a real story. And, I hope that they take that message that, bad things, unfortunately happen to you that are out of your control, but you always have the power to rewrite your own story and create something beautiful. And that's what fuels me every day in this line of work. Despite the tragedies that continue to happen on our roadways, we all can collectively, come together as a society to prevent impaired driving. And we're all doing our part, and everybody who's on this call is doing their part to raise a child that's going to be happy and healthy, and hopefully a great, responsible road user.
Amazing. I can speak personally. It's very overwhelming as a parent to think about when to talk about, what to talk about, how early to start. So we're so glad that you're here to help us sort of frame some of that stuff up. I mean, it literally feels like there's a new issue every day that we need to be working in to conversations, and quite frankly, there is. And I know here at Operation Parent, we're asked all the time to just continue to produce resources for early and earlier ages. But I hope, that this website and this webinar will give folks a little bit for all ages and some takeaways to just go close the year strong with some mini conversations with whoever you get to be around for the holidays and beyond to just promote more safer situations all the way around to all ages. Someone in our audience reminded us that SAD has great resources as well. So they're at sad.org. So I was thankful for that to be entered into the question section. And then Amanda, who's run our controls today and done an amazing job on all the graphics for this webinar, added a handout into your handout folder that's live here, or you can go back to your email, check it out as well, that has the links to the encouragement you gave us with talking with athletes about the consequences of how drinking can impact athletic performance. So we had several requests to get to those links, and they are in the handout folder for everyone who might be interested. And then a parent's asking us, what do you suggest are effective consequences for teens who are drinking? They are looking for suggestions beyond taking the phone, grounding, or removing driving privileges for a short while, if you can think of things beyond those.
I mean, if your child has made the choice to drink and drive, you can get an ignition interlock installed within your car. That's not something that necessarily has to be mandated by the courts. Obviously, that is a tool that quite literally, prevents that action from occurring. I'd also recommend potentially reaching out to your local MAD chapter. They do what are called victim impact panels, and that is actually for first-time drunk driving offenders. A lot of times they're mandated within their sentence to attend a panel, and so it's an opportunity. Essentially, how it goes is that these individuals who have been arrested and are fulfilling their duties mandated by the courts, they are invited to listen to a victim like myself share their story and how drunk driving impacted their life. And it's incredibly moving to see the remorse from these individuals. Speaking from my personal experience, having spoken at them, they are open to the public. Like I said, if I would recommend contacting your local MAD chapter. That might be a little extreme, but it's a very real example that hopefully your child will be able to resonate. And that's again why I mentioned about the mock crashes kind of having a mixed opinion within the prevention world, because when they are done incredibly well, sometimes they do resonate with teens, but sometimes, like I said, they could be very traumatic for a teen to endure, or if they're not produced well, it could cause the teen to potentially think of it as a laughing matter or a joke, which is something that we wouldn't want to do. So that's why I mentioned it, because some communities do it and it's a tradition and they do it very well. Other areas avoid doing that. But I do think connecting with someone who has been impacted by an impaired driver could make a difference in a teen. It's not necessarily a punishment per se, but again, just an opportunity for you to connect with your child and give them outward perspectives about how making responsible choices matter, and they can impact not only your life, but others around you.
Very good. The not directly related to consequences, but your point about the ongoing conversations and having those. We've mentioned the bad power of parents resources several times. And so the ability to have a lot of different conversation prompts in your head for whenever things come up is really great. And so the Mad Power of Parents resources did that for me. And I mainly mentioned that again because I wanted to let folks know those are available in Spanish. So we've got a lot of Drug-Free Coalition reps on the call that are looking for diverse resources. So I wanted to make sure that folks knew that that's available for everyone, but it's also available in Spanish. Do you have any go-to phrases to help middle school age students say no?
So when it relates to refuse to use, I would say there's three different approaches. You could, of course, deflect to another type of activity, like, oh, instead of doing this, why don't we watch a movie, or why don't we go to the mall and go shopping? Or you could, come up with a different type of excuse that relates to another reason. Like another common one is like, well, I have practice in the morning. It's very early. If I were to consume, I'm not going to be able to wake up, or to just flat out say no. So again, this is a powerful opportunity for you to connect with your child, to work through those scenarios, and also to get them to open up. Maybe it is a particular friend that is probing them to make those choices. So to better understand what that person in their life may be saying to them, and then again for you to understand what exactly it is they're doing, it helps you as a parent. So there's three different approaches. Like I said, you could flat out say no. I understand that's hard for a lot of kids, so having an excuse that is the go-to, and then, like I said, have that code word if they're really having trouble kind of making that excuse and following through. Perhaps you have that code word of like orange or something along those lines, and that's how they know that you call or you pick them up, something along those lines, or again, deflect to another activity.
Excellent. We have a treatment professional on the call with us, and she reminded us that over consuming is not always a choice for teens that have an addiction problem, which I'm so thankful that reminder was given. And it reminds us to dig in and understand addiction and support all those families that are going through addiction, especially with the upcoming holidays being a really even tougher time as families go through that. But she beautifully says these teens are victims too, and parents need to know what to do if they find themselves in that situation. So I'm thankful for that reminder. And also folks might find a valuable Dr. Danielle Dick's webinar that's up in our webinar library. She is a substance abuse researcher and the genetic connection to that. So we did a webinar with her, and this is a really neat thing, like for a young adult who wants to see if they have the addiction gene. Their department is actually doing like saliva testing and things like that. So they're studying gene at the addiction level, and then they're also pumping out a lot of really great resources for genes and addiction and the connection there, because it is a big one. Okay.
And that's why it's so powerful for you as a parent to, start thinking about how to have these conversations and knowing the influences that may be impacting your child. Perhaps if, like I said, addiction or alcoholism runs within your family. Perhaps if, you may be, your child may be dealing with the loss of a loved one or a breakup or divorce. Being aware of all these aspects as a parent is so important to how you not only have these conversations, but again, like when to have these conversations. So just be cognizant of that. And, it's on our screen right now, but the parent handbook from Operation Parent is a fantastic resource because it can be very overwhelming as a parent to have to address all these topics, because I understand, well, I'm very passionate about alcohol, underage drinking prevention, and drug prevention. I know that is just, a small part of being a parent. There are so many other aspects to deal with, like social media and bullying. So your guide is a great resource for parents to have all that information at their fingertips in one place.
That's right. I mean, you can see by the comment boxes on the side here of the slide, we try and go into several topics and help families in a lot of ways. And, we hope that we're doing that. So we'll hope that this time together will have folks pop over to the shop a little bit and check out those resources. Our TNT prevention product is also out there. And in our community in September, we had over 400, I think I told you about this, Tess. We had over 400 parents and middle school students come together and take a tour through our TNT drug prevention event kit. And it was amazing. We got that many people together on a Saturday, and they were learning and memorizing drug facts. They were practicing their refusal skills, and they were not even realizing they were learning. They were having a ball, working for prizes, but most importantly, also, I was blown away as they heard a speaker that had gone through one of the middle schools that was represented in the audience talked about her road through addiction, and the wise questions that the middle schoolers were asking in the audience. They were so supportive, caring, and wise beyond their years. They just can understand this, and the more we talk about them, the better. But I just loved that they were having fun while they were learning so deeply. And then at the end, they were able to take in the really serious part and see, what addiction could actually did to a family in our community. It was beautiful. It was amazing. That product is also available in our shop for folks to take a look at. It's also I wanted to mention too, our handbooks are available in a digital format, so for families out there that prefer digital over a hard copy, you could check that out. No worries though, on the hard copy of the handbook, we offer free shipping. And so there's not any extra hassle or anything. It's just a preference thing. And then we invite everyone that's here today to follow us on our active and growing social media. We're at Operation Parent across all of our channels. And so then if you want to join us for that next webinar, like I mentioned in the very beginning, in December, all you have to do is just do this very quick, super quick registration, and you'll be joining us again in December.
Thank you all so much for joining.
Oh, it's been a delight. We're glad to know you, and we're thankful for all of your work.
Thank
you, Tess. Have a good rest of the day. And thanks everyone for joining us. You've got this. Keep parenting and keep guiding us to the resources you need. We are going to be there for you. We're going to give you a lot of hope as we go through it. Thanks, Tess.
Thank you.